Hello and welcome to Unit 2B FAL Time-Distance Graphs. Today's objective is that scholars will be able to use context to match stories to graphs that compare time and distance. Okay, so let's start here. How do we match a graph to a story? So I have 3 stories here and 1 graph. I'm going to read the stories and then I want you to think about which one you think matches the graph. A. Tom took his dog for a walk to the park. He set off slowly and then increased his pace. At the park, Tom turned around and walked slowly back home. B. Tom rode his bike east from his home up a steep hill. After a while, the slope eased off. At the top, he raced down the other side. Or C. Tom went for a jog. At the end of his road, he bumped into a friend and his pace slowed. When Tom left his friend, he quickly walked back home. So pause the video and decide which one you think matches this story, or this graph. Okay, so let's look at these and actually compare what's there to what our options are on the graph. So the first story says that, make this a little bit easier for us to see. Okay, here we go. So Tom took his dog for a walk to the park. He set off slowly, then increased his pace. At the park, Tom turned around and walked slowly back home. So in that case, right there. So he set off slowly. So I can show on the graph here. So this part right here would be Tom started slowly. And then he increased his pace. Increased pace. And then tells us at the park he turned around and walked slowly back home. So then it would be he turned around. And this part would be walked slowly back home. Back home. Okay, so that would be how what we would put if that story was our match. Let's look at the next one. Tom rode his bike east from his home up a steep hill. After a while, the slope eased off. At the top, he raced down the other side. So that one, let's see this one in red. So, rode up a steep hill. Rode up a steep hill. And then this part would be the slope eased off. Slope eased off. And the last part would be he raced down the other side. Of course, you guys know my handwriting on these is not always great. Okay, let's look at the last one. Tom went for a jog. At the end of his road, he bumped into a friend and his pace slowed. So let's do this one in black. So he was jogging. Here he met a friend. And slowed. And then when he left his friend, he walked quickly home. So then over here would be walked quickly home. Which one of these do we think is the best fit for the actual story? Or for the actual graph. So let's talk about what does this point here represent. So we're comparing 2 things. We are comparing distance from home to time. And then we're doing the same thing in each graph. So if I'm all the way down here at the bottom, right here, How far am I from home? Well, I'm at home. My distance from home is 0. Okay, and time slowly advances this way. So if my distance from home is 0, that means I must start at home. Let's think about what that means over here. This also means I'm back at home. So I need to start at home and end at home. Well, that means I can rule out B, because B does not end at home. So I'm going to write that here. It doesn't end at home. Okay. So then let's look at the other two options. What does a steep slope mean? Let's look at that. Here I have a steep slope and then it gets less. We said it was walking slowly and then increasing pace. Down on the bottom one, we have a steep slope jogging and then a less steep slope when he slowed. The slope of the line represents how quickly his distance from home is increasing or decreasing. Remember, because our lower axis is time and our y-axis is distance from home. So the steeper the slope, the faster you're moving. Let's write that. Oop. Let's try writing it with a pen and not a highlighter. Steep slope equals fast movement. Okay, so that means that C is our answer. Because he was jogging, so he's going fast. Then he slowed down when he met his friend. And then he walked quickly back home. Okay, so you're going to match stories to the graphs that you have in your groups. So, you're going to work in your table groups. You're going to take turns matching the pairs of the cards. You want to make sure a graph and you may want to take a graph and then find a story that matches it, or you can find a story and then find a graph that matches it. Either way is fine, but you're going to take turns. Each time you do this, you're going to explain your thinking clearly and carefully. If you think there's no suitable card that matches, you can write one of your own. You will have to write at least one of your own stories. Then you're going to place the cards side by side on your large sheet of paper. Don't place them on top of each other, not on top of each other. This way everyone can see what you have. Then you're going to write your reason for matching the card or the graph just on the poster, just as we did on the example. So like I did the annotation, you're going to do that to explain each line segment. Finally, you're going to make sure to leave plenty of space around the cards, because eventually, tomorrow, you're going to be adding another card to each matched pair. So, you're going to go ahead and get those cards matched. You want to have them all matched by the end of class. Okay, if you have any questions, I'll see you guys in class.